Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Apocalypse Battle Report brought to you by the Legion Wargaming. To celebrate our 10,000th viewer for our videos, we thought we would bring you a 10,000 point Apocalypse battle. The forces of the Imperium and the forces of the Tau Empire have been in conflict on this planet for some time. But now the forces of the Tau have been joined by the Eldar from Craftworlds for their own mysterious purposes. Meanwhile, the Raven Guard have called in more support from their own chapter and support from the dreaded Grey Knights chapter of the Adeptus Astartes as well. This should be a great battle. Before we look at the deployment in more detail, let's take a look at the forces. This 10,000 point combined Tau and Eldar army consists of 7,000 points of Tau and 3,000 points of Eldar, and the entire army is battle forged. Everything is part of a detachment or a formation, starting with the Tau Hunter contingent, which comprises a Hunter Cadre with a commander, 3 squads of Pathfinders, 3 strike squads of Fireblade, 2 teams of XV-88 broadsides with high yield missile pods, and an XV-104 Riptide. The Hunter contingent also contains a drone network of 5 marker drones, an armoured interdiction cadre, 3 hammerheads with submunitions, and a Skyray. And it also contains a retaliation cadre with a buffing commander with all the gadgets, 3 XV-8 teams with fusion blasters and plasma rifles, a broadside team with railguns, plasma rifles, and another Riptide. Both Riptides have ion accelerators. And the final formation in the Hunter contingent is the optimised stealth cadre. An XV-95 Ghost Keel with a cyclic ion raker and fusion blasters, and 2 teams of stealth suits. Each one of those has a fusion blaster and a homing beacon. The first of the Tau combined arms detachments is led by Commander Rely, and he has brought with him 2 strike teams and a lot of experimental battle suits. The XV-109, 2 XV-107s, and the Tau Nar Supremacy battle suit. We're very much looking forward to seeing what effect that has on this battle. And the final Tau combined arms detachment is led by Darkstrider, and he has brought along a squadron of 4 Tetras, 2 more strike teams, both in Devilfish, and all of the flyers. One of these Barracuda is in fact attached to Commander Rely's detachment, but there are 2 more for a total of 3. A Tiger Shark AX-10 with its twin-link D weapon, and a squadron of 5 Remora stealth drones. This 7,000 points of Tau is a very, very formidable force. The Eldar are again battle forged. They are all split into detachments and formations. They are led by the Ulthway Seer Council, 5 Warlocks and 2 Farseers, many of them with singing spears, and their other main character is Janezar the Phoenix Lord, which is appropriate because this Eldar force contains 1 aspect host consisting of 2 squads of Fire Dragons and a squad of Dark Reapers. They have Starshot missiles. Another aspect host with a squad of Howling Banshees, a squad of Striking Scorpions, and a squad of Shining Spears. They all have Exarchs with the upgraded weapons, and a Dire Avenger Shrine. 3 squads of 5 Dire Avengers, 1 with an Exarch. So Janezar has plenty of aspect warriors to command the full fury of the Swordwind. And the Eldar have also brought along a combined arms detachment from Craftworld Eandon, and they have a Spirit Seer leading them, 2 squads of Wraithguard in Wave Serpents, a Wraith Lord, a squad of Dire Avengers with an Exarch, 2 Falcons with upgraded Star Cannon, 3 Vipers with star cannon and a squad of Guardians with a Warlock and a scatter laser. 3,000 points of Eldar. We are very much looking forward to seeing how these two armies complement each other. They really are terrifying when all lined up like this. Let's see what the Imperium have sent to take them on. This 10,000 point army of the Imperium is comprised of 8,000 points of Raven Guard Space Marines and 2,000 points of Grey Knights. It is battle forged. The Raven Guard have brought along a Gladius strike force consisting of 2 battle demi companies making up the entire 3rd battle company of their chapter. Those are the 2 core choices for the Gladius, and the Gladius also contains, for auxiliaries, a suppression force of 3 whirlwinds and 3 land speeders, and elements of the Raven Guard 1st Company, including Strike Force Command, which are the 1st Company Captain and a squad of Honour Guard. They all have Relic Blades, and the Raven Guard Chapter Master, with Raven's Fury Jump Pack, Artificer Armour and a Relic Blade. He is joined by the Chapter's Master of Sanctity, also with a jump pack. And there is a 1st Company Task Force as part of the Gladius, squad of Terminators, squad of Stern Guard and a squad of Vanguard without jump packs, and they are mounted in another auxiliary choice for the Gladius. 2 of the Land Raiders from the Land Raider Spearhead, with the Honour Guard transported in the 3rd. We also have a combined arms detachment led by a captain on a bike, and he has brought bikes as his troop choices. There is a squad of Melter bikes, there's a squad of bikers with grav guns, and he has a line breaker squadron of 3 Vindicators as 1 heavy support choice, 2 Storm Raven gunships to fill the other 2 heavy support slots, and crucially the Lord of War in the form of the Thunderhawk gunship with a turbo laser destructor. As well as the Gladius and the combined arms detachment, this army contains 1 independent formation of Raven Guard, which is a Shadow Strike kill team, 2 squads of scouts with sniper rifles and camo cloaks, and then 3 squads of 10 Vanguard veterans, 1 with lightning claws, 1 with power fists and storm shields, and 1 with melter bombs. So this 8,000 points of Raven Guard is a very formidable contingent, and they are backed up to combat the Eldar's psychic might with a Nemesis strike force, 2,000 points of Grey Knights, led by a brother librarian, and he has brought with him 2 strike squads, 2 squads of Terminators, a squad of Paladins, a squad of Purifiers, 1 squad of Interceptors, a Nemesis Dreadnought, and their own Storm Raven gunship. This is the retribution of the Emperor, and they are determined to triumph over the alien forces of the Tau and the Eldar. We are very much looking forward to this battle. Let's see how these huge armies deploy. And the armies have deployed, with the combined Tau and Eldar deploying the majority of their forces on the battlefield at the start of the game. They have formed an impressive firing line. They've got their Taunar Supremacy suit standing right at the centre of their line with a commanding view over the entire battlefield, and he is supported by 4 other gigantic battle suits, the 2 107s, the 109 and a single Riptide. And the forces of the Tau have intermingled with the dreaded Aspect Warriors that the Eldar have brought along. They are all clustered around objectives 1, 3 and 5 in the centre of the Tau deployment zone. We have Fire Warriors, Dire Avengers, Pathfinders, the armoured interdiction cadre panning their formidable railguns around looking for targets, and the fast moving elements at the front a squadron of Tetras and a squadron of Eldar Vipers. Dark Reapers and a Wraith Lord have deployed on the roof of this central bunker, and they are supported by Mordor Avengers, a squad of Guardians from Eand and Craftworlds, and all of the Eldar grav tanks containing fire dragons and the dreaded Wraith Guard from Eand and Craftworlds. The Tau Commander is in the centre with two teams of XV-88 broadsides, and he is forming the linchpin for this part of the alien battle line. And right on their far right flank we have the Ghost Keel and some Pathfinders creeping forwards. This is a very dense and very, very threatening force. It is dominating this side of the battlefield. But they have left a lot in reserve, all of their flyers, including the Tiger Shark, the Barracudas and the stealth drones. And the Eldar have also got the Shining Spears ready to come in from one flank. The Ravens and the Grey Knights have deployed far, far less. We have a single battle demi company. They are in their rhinos with a single assault squad, split down into combat squads. They've deployed their squadron of whirlwinds from the suppression force and both squads of devastators from the third company. But seeing the fearsome battle line that the aliens have formed and sticking to the chapter tactics that they are so well known for, they have left about 8,000 of their 10,000 points in reserve. But the forces that have deployed are already under considerable pressure from the cunning Tau and Eldar. Two teams of stealth suits have appeared and they have encircled this battle demi company. They are looking to attack it from behind, and a squad of stealthy striking scorpions has crept forward and they are looking to get stuck in to the Raven Guard devastators as soon as possible. The Raven Guard have deployed objectives 2, 4 and 6 down. They say they are holding all three at the current time, but compared to how many Tau and Eldar there are on the table, there are very, very few Raven Guard. So let's see. This is going to be decided by objective points. We will be doing 3 per turn, and unless the Ravens and the Grey Knights can seize the initiative, we will be going into Tau and Eldar, turn 1. The Raven Guard and the Grey Knights have failed to seize the initiative, so we are going into Tau and Eldar, turn 1, and the objectives they have drawn are secure objective 5, which is right here in the heart of their line, nice easy one, and far harder for them. May not even be possible this turn. They have drawn secure objective 4 twice, which is currently being held by a Raven Guard Devastator's Rhino. Let's see what the Tau and Eldar do going into their first movement phase. End of Tau and Eldar movement phase turn 1, and they have been very cautious. The Tetras have moved up to bring their high intensity marker lights into range, and the Eldar Vipers have hovered forward slowly. The 2 Wave Serpents containing the Wraith Guard have likewise moved forward slowly just to bring their twin-linked Bright Lances into range, and the XV-95 Ghost Keel has moved up. He is looking to target the forward elements of the Raven Guard mechanised force, but the rest of this vast Tau and Eldar battle line has not moved. They are very aware that both the Raven Guard and the Grey Knights have a lot of deep strike potential. They still have a lot in range. They have their hammerheads and, crucially, the Supremacy Suit preparing what is going to be doubtless a devastating bombardment attack. right down the far end of the battlefield past the Raven Guard positions. The XV-25 stealth suits are trying to achieve the objective that they have been given this turn, and that is to secure objective 4 twice. If one team can knock out that Rhino, the other, with a good jetpack move, may be able to seize that objective, which will be a good result for the Tau and Eldar, since the other objective they are already holding very strongly. So cagey opening moves from the aliens. Let's see what they get up to in their first psychic phase. End of Tau and Eldar psychic phase turn 1, and the Seer Council are already flexing their psychic muscles. They have put guide and perfect timing onto the Dark Reapers with the intention of taking on the Raven Guard Devastators, and they have also put fortune on themselves. They know that they are vital to the success of their cause on this planet. They want to survive. And finally, the Farseer has also cast Scryer's gaze. He wants to be able to make sure that all of this army's dangerous reserves turn up when he wants them to. But first, we have potential devastation in Tau and Eldar shooting phase turn 1. End of Tau and Eldar shooting phase turn 1, and it has been very effective despite a lot of the Tau and Eldar army being out of range. The Dark Reapers, under the effect of guide and perfect timing, easily cut down the squad of Raven Guard Devastators that were standing on the roof of that bunker. The commander and both teams of XV-88 broadsides combined their fire with the fire of the Ghost Kill, and even though the Pathfinders had put 4 marker lights on the assault squad guarding objective 2, they only managed to take down 2 of them. But the Tau commander called in the fire support of the awesome Supremacy battlesuit, and with a saturation bombardment the rest of the squad were blown to pieces. The Eldar Wraithlord tried a long-range shot with his missile launcher and was rewarded by knocking a hull point off of this Raven Guard Rhino and immobilising it. And the Hammerhead gunships of the Tau Armoured Interdiction Cadre targeted the lead whirlwind from the suppression force and managed to blow it to pieces. Right back, deep in the rear of the Raven Guard lines, one squad of XV-25 stealth suits opened fire with their burst cannons and wrecked the Rhino that the Raven Guard had left guarding objective 4, while their colleagues ran up 5 inches. They now need a 7-inch jetpack move, and they will have achieved their objective of securing objective 4 twice. Very, very good shooting, given that there was quite a lot of this army that was a long, long way out of range at the current time. Let's see if the XV-25 stealth suits manage to get to objective 4 in Tau and Eldar turn 1 assault phase. End of Tau and Eldar assault phase turn 1, and the XV-25 suits really pushed their jetpacks to get to objective 4. They lost a member of their squad doing so, but they have managed to secure that objective, giving them 2 points, and they are strongly, strongly holding objective 5 right back in their own deployment zone. And of course, they easily achieved first blood, meaning at the end of Tau and Eldar turn 1, the score is 4 points to them, nothing yet to the Grey Knights and Raven Guard, going into Grey Knights and Raven Guard turn 1. Start of Raven Guard and Grey Knights turn 1, and the orders have come down from the orbiting strike cruisers. They need to make sure that their position is strong before they commit their orbital forces. To that end, they have been ordered to re-seize objective 4, secure objective 2, that is right in the centre of their mechanised force, and hold the line, which is going to be very, very tricky to achieve in this scenario, as the Raven Guard's board edge is the whole length of the far side of the battlefield, and the Tau and Eldar's is obviously the whole length of the near side. Still, we have a lot of reserves to roll for in Raven Guard and Grey Knights first movement phase, end of Raven Guard and Grey Knights turn 1 movement phase, and a lot of the Imperial reinforcements have arrived to purge the alien. 3 drop pods have come down right in the centre to strengthen the Imperial line. 1 with a tactical squad, and they have got their eyes on the Ghost Keel. The captain of the 3rd company has come down right in the middle, and he has spied the Tau battlesuit commander leading these XV-88 broadsides. He wants to take him out, and he will be helped by the ironclad dreadnought, which has bullishly hammered down in this open area in the centre of the battlefield. But it's not just the Raven Guard. The Grey Knights have arrived in force. Their Nemesis strike force has teleported in. There is a squad of Grey Knights with force halberds and an incinerator, and they want to burn out the Tau Pathfinders. They know how deadly Markalites can be, and they are supported in the centre by a newly arrived squad of Terminators. The Nemesis Dread Knight has appeared. Again, he is looking to target the Tau commander with his deadly Gatling silencer, and sensing the danger of the XV-25 stealth suits, 2 squads of Grey Knight interceptors have teleported down, and they are going to try to wipe out the infiltrating Tau and reclaim Objective 4. The Raven Guard ground forces have also begun to deploy. This tactical squad, they're split into 2 combat squads. They have moved up onto Objective 2 from their immobilised Rhino, and these 2 tactical squads have moved forward and disembarked, and they are going to try to join their bolter fire with that of their newly arrived comrades and take down the Ghost Keel with an absolute hail of fire. So a lot more Imperial forces on the table now, and of course with the Grey Knights newly arriving, we can now go into Grey Knights and Raven Guard Psychic Phase turn 1. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight Psychic Phase turn 1, and unfortunately for the Grey Knights, not enough of their brethren have arrived to overcome the awesome power of the Eldar Seer Council. They attempted to summon up force a couple of times, but it was denied. The Nemesis Dread Knight did, however, manage to get off Sanctuary on himself, so he now has a 4+ invulnerable save. Let's see what the forces of the Imperium can do going into Raven Guard and Grey Knights Shooting Phase turn 1. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight Shooting Phase turn 1, and the newly arrived ironclad dreadnought washed his twin heavy flamers over the parapet of this bunker. He took out 1 Dark Reaper and wounded the Exarch. The Deep Strike in the centre pretty much all focused their firepower onto the commander and his team of XV-88 broadside battlesuits. The commander went down under a hail of melter fire from the command squad, and all of the missile drones, 1 shield drone and another broadside battlesuit were also brought down in a hail of storm bolter, bolt gun and Gatling fire by a combination of the Grey Knights and the Raven Guard. This strike squad incinerated 3 of the Pathfinders, and another 2 were gunned down by the squad's storm bolters, but the 1 remaining member has held morale. Both he and the remaining XV-88 broadside are brave. They will not fall back, and neither will the XV-95 Ghost Keel. He was hit by an absolute hail of bolter fire under the effect of the tactical doctrine from this phalanx of Raven Guard Tactical Marines. He lost 1 of his stealth drones and 3 out of his 4 wounds, so he is still hanging on, but he has been grievously wounded. The deep striking interceptors, they managed to wipe out the squad of XV-25 stealth suits holding Objective 4 in a storm of bolt fire and flame, and they have now seized it for the Ravens. And the remaining squad of XV-25 stealth suits have lost their leader. He was taken out by a long-range blast from the Raven Guard Devastator's las cannon, and that proved too much for the stealth suits. They have started to fall back. But there's still 3 of them. They could rally. At least they won't be putting pressure on the Raven Guard objectives in their upcoming turn. So all in all, a reasonable first shooting phase from the Ravens. But it still looks like they have far, far less on the table when you look at the huge amount of Tau and Eldar that are just waiting to get at them. In terms of objectives, the Ravens managed to secure Objective 2, and they also managed to secure Objective 4. They did not, however, manage to hold the line, since the farboard edge is going to be very, very tricky, so they are going to discard that. Bringing the score at the end of the first game turn to 4 points to the Tau and Eldar and 2 to the Raven Guard and Grey Knights. Going into Tau and Eldar, turn 2. Start of Tau and Eldar turn 2, and they have had an interesting draw of objectives. They have drawn overwhelming firepower, which is really perfect for this Tau army. Harness the Warp, which I'm sure the Seer Council will be able to attend to. And, most interestingly of all, Domination. They are already holding their own 3 objectives. Can the arrival of the Retaliation Cadre give them the chance of taking the 3 currently held by the Raven Guard? Let's see, going into Tau and Eldar movement phase, turn 2. End of Tau and Eldar movement phase turn 2, and their ground forces have begun to move up. Both Wave Serpents have deployed their Wraith Guard. They have their deadly short-ranged weapons aimed at the orbital strike launched by the Grey Knights and the Raven Guard. There is going to be a huge amount of firepower dropped onto these Space Marines. The Tau have been bolstered by the arrival of a Barracuda flying over the main body of their army, and the Dark Reapers, the Wraith Lord, they have got their sights set on the Raven Guard Ironclad. The Tetras have moved up with the intention of deploying their Markalites most effectively, but it looks like a lot of the Tau and Eldar deadly firepower will be targeted at the Nemesis Dread Knight that is moving up, causing them some worry. The Striking Scorpions have crept through this bunker, and they have got their sights set on some tactical marines. But the big news is the arrival of the Tau ambush. The entire Retaliation Cadre has deep struck. They are intent on achieving domination, and they certainly have enough firepower to make it more than possible, especially given that they are bolstered by the arrival of the Aircast. The Tiger Shark and 2 Barracuda have encircled the Imperial position, and they will be adding their deadly firepower as well. With the broadsides, the crisis suits and the Riptide, it looks like the Marines at the rear of the Imperial line are going to have a very bad time of it. The Remora stealth drones are moving up in support of their bigger flyers, and the XV-25 stealth suits have rallied as well to add their firepower. Right in the centre, as we have come to expect of him, Commander Farsight has dropped down. He is spoiling for a fight, and he has put himself in the midst of the Raven Guard and Grey Knight positions. This could be a very, very rough turn for the Imperium. There is a lot of firepower about to pour into them. But first, we have Tau and Eldar Psychic Phase turn 2. End of Tau and Eldar Psychic Phase turn 2, and the Seer Council has manifested a huge amount of power. They have easily achieved Harness the Warp by successfully manifesting 4 powers. They probably could have manifested even more. They have once again summoned up Fortune on themselves, and they have put perfect timing on the Dark Reapers, Guide on their squadron of Vipers, and the Spirit Seer has protected his squad of Wraithguard, giving them a 2+ save. Another very, very effective phase from the Tau and Eldar. Let's see what devastation they unleash in their second shooting phase. End of Tau and Eldar shooting phase turn 2, and it has been a long and very worrying one for the forces of the Imperium. Phase opened with the Dark Reapers and the Wraith Lord knocking 2 hull points off the Raven Guard Ironclad, and he's immobilised, so can do nothing but stand there and roar in rage. The 3rd Company Captain and his command squad are all dead. They were targeted by Wraith Guard and an absolute barrage of missiles from the surviving XV-88 broadsides. The Vipers combined their fire with the Eldar grav tanks to take down the Nemesis Dreadnought. And in the centre, all of the Imperial forces here, the Grey Knights and the Raven Guard, were hit by an absolute blizzard of fire coming from all over. The Barracuda and long-range fire from the Falcons, combined with the other squad of Wraith Guard, have really thinned out the Grey Knights. There's only 1 member of this strike squad left and 1 Terminator, who did survive 3 hammerheads attempting to take him out with their railguns. Those barricades proved invaluable. More Marines were slaughtered here by firepower coming from the Tau air power, and the retaliation cadre have really cleared Objective 2, aided by Farsight. The other members of the retaliation cadre took down 4 interceptors, so they have opened up this objective. They're going to try and seize it, and the Remoras managed to take out the Rhino that the Ravens had left guarding this objective. So they've caused a lot of damage, although there were some good results for the Raven Guard. The Supremacy Suit fired its barrage from right down the other end of the battlefield, but the Whirlwinds remain undamaged. He only managed to glance this Rhino, which was then finished off by fire from the railgun wielding XV-88 broadsides. So the Ravens and the Grey Knights have taken a bit of a pasting, but there are more left than we were perhaps expecting. Going into Tau Assault phase, we need some good jetpack moves, and they can achieve domination. Let's see. End of Tau and Eldar Assault phase turn 2, and the striking Scorpions crept stealthily up the side of the landing pad, and they have slaughtered the tactical Marines that were standing there. Good result from the only assault this turn. And the jetpack moves. This XV-8 crisis team jetpack their way to secure Objective 2. The XV-25 stealth suits jetpacked up onto the ruined chapel, and they have secured Objective 6, but in a devastating turn of luck for the Tau, the commander and his crisis team, they needed 6-inch jetpack move to secure Objective 4. They rolled snake eyes, meaning that the Tau and Eldar have failed to secure domination by 1 objective. They are strongly holding 5. That is a disappointing result, but they certainly look to be in the driving seat of this battle so far. They managed to get 2 points for overwhelming firepower, and they managed to get 2 points for Harness the Warp, bringing the score at the end of this turn to 8 points to the Tau and Eldar. Only 2 to the Raven Guard and Grey Knights, and the Raven Guard and Grey Knights have taken a lot of casualties. But the majority of their forces are still waiting to arrive. Let's see how many come in their second turn. Can they tip the course of this battle? Let's see. Start of Raven Guard and Grey Knights turn 2, and they have drawn Hungry for Glory, which is achievable. Recon, which is a free point at this stage. All objectives have been held by either side. And Supremacy. And with the vast ranks of Tau and Eldar sitting happily on 3 objectives right down their end of the battlefield, I don't think the Ravens or the Grey Knights are going to be able to achieve that. Still, let's see what they can achieve going into their second turn. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight's movement phase turn 2, and it has been an eventful one. A lot of the Imperial reserves have turned up. Some of them are crashing right into the Tau formidable line that they formed back here, but they are intent on achieving supremacy. We have 2 squads of bikes, the 1st Company Captain and his Honour Guard in the Land Raider Redeemer and the Linebreaker Squadron. They are also supported by a newly arrived drop pod with a tactical squad from the 3rd Company, and they are going to try and clear all of the Fire Warriors out of this building and from around Objective 3. And also, if they have enough firepower, try and take the Seer Council out of this building and from around Objective 1. The skies have darkened this turn with the arrival of a flock of ravens. The Unkindness have landed in force. The Shadow Strike kill team, they have all come down guided in by the Dreadnought's drop pod, and they all have had their targets assigned. They could do a lot of damage this turn. We have squads with Power Fists, squad with Lightning Claws, squads with Melter Bombs, and they are going to try and carve their way through the Tau Eldar front line. They have also been joined by their Chapter Master and their Master of Sanctity. They have both come down on their jump packs, but they will just be overseeing things this turn. The last 2 assault squads from the 3rd Company have arrived, and they are going to try and drive out the Striking Scorpions with their flamers. And a wave of silver armour has also come down. We have got a squad of Grey Knights Terminators, the Strike Squad that had to go back into ongoing reserves last turn, and the Brother Librarian and his Paladins. They are making full use of the Raven Guard's locator beacons as well. This tactical squad is holding these barricades. They can add their firepower against the Ghost Keel to help out the Grey Knights, or they can join with these tactical squads that have been sent to reclaim Objective 2. The Devastators have held position, as have the Whirlwinds. They are searching for targets, and this assault squad that has been taking cover for the opening stages of the game is now going to try to take out some battle suits. Another squad of bikers with grav guns has come on. They are holding Objective 4, and they are lining up to take out this crisis team, and the Grey Knights Interceptors have abandoned their plan to teleport up the table in order to take out another team of XV8s and their commander. And the Grey Knights and the Raven Guard air power has arrived. 2 Storm Ravens and, crucially, the Thunderhawk gunship. The Thunderhawk wants to take out the Tiger Shark, and it thinks that as soon as it's done that, it will have aerial dominance over this battlefield. So, did the Tau commit their air forces too early to achieve domination? Are they now going to pay for it with the arrival of the Imperial Super Heavy Flyer? There is a lot going on this turn. It could be devastating. Have the Imperials weathered enough of the firepower to now carve their way to victory through the Tau? Let's see, going into their psychic phase and participation of the Grey Knight's Brother Librarian. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knights psychic phase turn 2, and the arrival of so many more Grey Knights, including their Brother Librarian, has given the Imperial Army a chance to compete with the ferocious Eldar psychic assault. Both the newly arrived Terminators and the Paladins got off Sanctuary on themselves, improving their invulnerable saves, and the Interceptors, who are moving towards the Retaliation Cadre commander, managed to get off Hammerhand, but the Eldar Seer Council cunningly left back all of its power to deny their attempt at putting force on their halberds. So, an interesting phase. 2 very different psychic armies, but both very powerful. Let's see what the Raven Guard and the Grey Knights can do in their second shooting phase. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight shooting phase turn 2, and the newly arrived Raven Guard task force that has come on right in the centre of the Tau position has cleared out the top floors of this building around Objective 3. A lot of Fire Warriors went down in a hail of bolter fire, but the Linebreaker Squadron was very disappointing. Despite landing its ferocious barrage on top of the Seer Council. It only took out 2 warlocks and stunned the devilfish. Oh, and it also took out one of Commander Elias' drones as well. But quite disappointing. The newly arrived tactical squad, the other half, gunned down this Pathfinder squad that was in the open in short order, so they performed their orders with remarkable efficiency. At least this part of the Raven Guard army has taken down a lot of Fire Warriors this turn, and the Cadra Fireblade and Dark Strider, so some success. The main Raven Guard jump pack assault remains to go in, but the sergeants of one squad of Vanguard veterans lobbed a crack grenade into the face of the Spirit Seer and took him out. The Wraith Guard were not quick enough to hold themselves in the path. The Eldar Psyker went down. But not much firing in the centre. Massed bolter fire from the newly arrived Grey Knights once again took out their wrath on the Ghost Kill and took it down. And again, mass bolter fire combined with the fire of the Raven Guard Devastators still over in that building took out the crisis suits holding Objective 2. That is now back in the hands of the Raven Guard. There's a lot of tactical marines still in the centre, so will that be enough to deal with Farsight? Don't know. We will have to see. This assault squad is preparing to assault the broadsides from the Retaliation Cadre and the newly arrived Grav Bikers. They unloaded their weaponry on this crisis team. They went to ground, but they still lost one member, and the last remaining member of this team, he has gone to ground and he's only got 1 wound. The Interceptors, they did not fire. They are preparing to take out the Retaliation Cadre commander, and disappointing for the Thunderhawk. It opened fire on the Tiger Shark with all of its weaponry and did absolutely nothing, as did the Grey Knights Storm Raven. Fortunately, the Raven Guard Storm Raven came to the rescue and managed to do 3 whole points against the Tau Super Heavy Flyer, but he did not jink, so he'll be free to fire next turn. The Thunderhawk also tried to land its turbo laser on the stealth team holding this objective. Again, had no effect at all. The stealthy Tau with their generators managed to withstand it, but 2 members of the team were taken out by an ignores cover barrage from the 2 remaining whirlwinds. So a mixed phase from the forces of the Imperium. Their flyers were extremely disappointing, but they have achieved some success. The next phase is going to be the crucial one, going into Grey Knights and Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 2. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight Assault Phase Turn 2, and the Shadow Strike kill team have once again proven how deadly they are. First squad with lightning claws leapt up onto the parapet of this bunker and shredded the Dark Reapers without taking a single casualty. This squad with melter bombs remains locked in combat with the Wraith Lord. The Wraith Lord crushed 2 marines with his mighty fists, but the survivors planted 2 melter bombs on him, so it is a drawn combat. This squad with melter bombs made very short work of the Eldar Viper squadron, doing more than enough damage to take them all out. This Vanguard veteran squad with power fists smashed their way through the XV-88 broadside team that were standing in the shadow of this bunker, while their brothers with lightning claws shredded their way through the other squad of Eandon Wraith Guard. And on top of the bunker, the final squad with power fists and storm shields smashed down the other squad of Wraith Guard. So the Shadow Strike has, as usual, been devastating. The only other combat, all the way down where the Interceptors managed to charge in and with their demon hammers and force halberds take down the Retaliation Cadre commander and his 2 XV-8 crisis suits. They wiped them out. And they issued a challenge along the way, gaining the Imperium a point for Hungry for Glory, and they also get a point for Recon. But with this stealth suit still standing on this objective, they lost any chance of achieving supremacy. So at the end of Raven Guard and Grey Knights Turn 2, the score is 8 points to the Tau and Eldar, and still only 4 to the Ravens and the Knights. But with more of their forces arriving, could this be the turning point of this battle? We'll see. Going into Tau and Eldar, turn 3. Start of Tau and Eldar turn 3, and they have had a fortunate draw of objectives. Bullishly, they've decided to keep domination from the previous turn. They are still hell-bent on achieving it. They've also drawn supremacy, which they should be able to achieve. They are holding a lot of objectives still. Raven Guard, not too many, and they can be washed off relatively easily. And another good draw for the Tau and Eldar. They've drawn behind enemy lines, and with a board edge this long, units already very close, they should easily be able to get another D3 for that. Let's see what they do in their third movement phase. End of Tau and Eldar, turn 3 movement phase, and the XV-109 Yavara suit has leapt into action. It's going to try and drive the Raven Guard bikers away from the heart of the Tau defensive position. The Tau have also deployed 2 more squads of fire warriors from their devilfish, and they are going to try to put up some resistance against the newly arrived Raven Guard drop pod and the tactical squad. The hammerheads are still sport for choice when it comes to targets. They have held position, but the Eldar are moving forward. The Yanden Guardians and the Dire Avengers, they know that they need to take out the Shadow Strike kill teams quickly, and they are supported by a squad of fire dragons that have deployed from their Falcon, which has also moved up. The second squad of fire dragons has not deployed from their Falcon, yet they are biding their time. The Tetras have moved back. They have realised that the Linebreaker squadron represents a significant threat to the centre of their battle line, so they are going to light them up, probably for the hammerheads to deal with. The XV-88 broadside teams have moved up, and they are going to try to wipe the tactical marines away from this central objective, because the Tau still want to achieve domination, and they are supported by Farsight, and the aircast are swooping all over this part of the battlefield. The Tiger Shark and the Barracudas, they are going to try and clear out as many targets as possible. The Tiger Shark has got its guns trained on the Grey Knights, and the Barracudas look like they are going to try to wash the lone remaining interceptor and the Raven Guard Grav bikers off of Objective 4, so that the Nova charged Riptide can jet back in and claim it. So a lot more movement from the Tau and Eldar this turn. Let's see how they get on. First we have Tau and Eldar turn 3 psychic phase. End of Tau and Eldar psychic phase turn 3, and the Seer Council put all of their power into summoning up fortune on themselves once again. The Grey Knights attempted to deny it, but they could not overcome the power of the Eldar Seers. Going into Tau and Eldar shooting phase turn 3. End of Tau and Eldar shooting phase turn 3, and their counterpunch has been formidable. The 2 Ravanas and the Yavara all focus their fire on the Raven Guard bikers. They took down the captain and left only 2 bikers alive, and they had to retreat in the face of such overwhelming firepower. They went back where they came from, off of the battlefield. The newly deployed fire warriors, they massed their fire to take down this combat squad of tactical marines, and after the Tetras lit up the Linebreaker squadron with their high intensity marker lights, the hammerheads opened fire, and they have destroyed 1 Vindicator and knocked another one down to 1 hull point remaining. Crucially now, that squadron cannot fire its 10-inch blast. The Dire Avengers and the Yanden Guardians moving forwards, they took down 1 squad of Vanguard veterans with power fists in a hail of shuriken fire, and fire from the Falcons and the Fire Dragons managed to take out 2 Grey Knight Terminators. Meanwhile, the Supremacy suit from right at the rear of the Tau line targeted the other Vanguard veterans with lightning claws and took out 3 of that squad of 5. Moving down, these tactical squads who are still fiercely contesting the landing pad against the broadsides came under a lot of fire from the broadsides and from the Tiger Shark zooming across, unleashing its weapons. Many tactical marines from each squad went down, but all of the Raven Guard are holding firm. They have no thought at all of retreat in the face of the enemy. Farsight and his crisis bodyguards, they absolutely blew the remainder of the suppression force to pieces with their twin fusion blasters. And Tau can breathe a sigh of relief that no more barrages will be coming from their direction. And disappointingly for the Tau, this Grey Knight Justicar, he has gone to ground behind the barricades. He is still on objective 4, despite absorbing the fire of a Barracuda, while the other Barracuda gunned down all of the Raven Guard bikers. The Riptide now cannot charge him because he also targeted the bikers, so even with a jetpack move, that objective will remain contested. He is a true hero of his chapter. All of the Remora stealth drones, they targeted the other squad of interceptors and gunned them all down in short order. But this phase has put an end to the Tau and Eldar's ability to claim domination, thanks to the Grey Knight Justicar and some Raven Guards still hanging around in the centre. We have some assaults to go in though, going into Tau and Eldar assault phase turn 3. End of Tau and Eldar assault phase turn 3, and led by the Phoenix Lord Jainzar, the Howling Banshees absolutely slaughtered the newly arrived squad of Raven Guard, Stern Guard veterans, easily wiping them out. And in the centre, the ongoing combat continues, but the Wraith Lord looks like he has the measure of the Raven Guard veterans now. He crushed 2 with his mighty fists, and the remaining veteran failed to plant a melter bomb on him. They remain locked in combat, thanks to And They Shall Know No Fear. At the end of this turn, disappointingly for the Tau, they once again failed to achieve domination, thanks to a very, very lucky Grey Knight Justicar. They did, however, manage to get a point for supremacy, and crucially 3 points for behind enemy lines, again thanks to Jainzar and the Rivara suit and the Pathfinders. Bringing the score at the end of Tau and Eldar, turn 3 to 12 points to the Tau and Eldar, and only 4 points to the Raven Guard and the Grey Knights. Going into Raven Guard and Grey Knight, turn 3. Start of Raven Guard and Grey Knights, turn 3, and they have drawn a mix of objectives. They have drawn Scour the Skies, and with all these Tau flyers still zooming around, they may have a good chance of achieving that. They have also drawn Witch Hunter. The Eldar still have the majority of their Seer Council, but probably a lot easier to try and take out this Warlock in this squad of Guardians. And the final objective they have drawn is secure objective 5 over here by this strike team. That is going to prove quite tricky, we think. But the forces of the Imperium are bolstered this turn by the arrival of their final Storm Raven gunship, their final drop pod with a tactical squad, and a Land Raider with a squad of Vanguard veterans. But the other Land Raider with the other squad of Vanguard still has not arrived, neither have the Land Speeder Squadron, and the Raven Guard scouts appear to have gone missing on a permanent basis. Let's see how the Raven Guard and Grey Knights get on going into their turn 3 movement phase. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knights movement phase turn 3, and with all of the Imperial air power now arrived on the battlefield, it looks like it could be the end for the air cast. One Raven Guard Storm Raven and the Grey Knight Storm Raven are hot on the tail of the Tiger Shark. Meanwhile, the Thunderhawk gunship and the newly arrived Raven Guard Storm Raven have got their sights set on these two Barracudas. The Land Raider, carrying the Vanguard veterans, have been called to the aid of the lone Justicar sitting on Objective 4. He can't hope to hold it on his own against the Riptide, but maybe with the Vanguard veterans they stand a better chance. This assault squad moved up to take on the last wounded crisis suit, and in the centre the remnants of many tactical squads are moving up to try and take Objective 2 away from these broadsides that seized it last turn, while the Raven Guard Devastators take on Commander Farsight and his bodyguards. In the centre, the line of silver armoured Grey Knights and jump packers are surging forwards. The Eldar have moved up to try to contain them, but with Grey Knight Terminators and the Strike Squad, the Paladins coming up in reserve, and two squads of Vanguard veterans supporting the Chapter Master and the Master of Sanctity, can this thin Eldar line hope to hold? Perhaps, but there's also another squad of Raven Guard Assault Marines moving up to take out this Wave Serpent, whilst their brothers from the other combat squad are going to try and take down some of the Tetras that have been a real thorn in the Imperium's side. And there is another squad of Vanguard veterans with Lightning Claws moving up to make the Eldar's position look very, very fragile. The last squad of veterans have leapt up to the roof of this bunker to help their lone comrade take out the Wraith Lord at last with their melter bombs. The Linebreaker Squadron have been forced to manoeuvre. The only undamaged Vindicator has to get back within coherency of his stunned comrade, so he has moved through the wreckage of the lead tank of his squadron. And the arrival of yet more Raven Guard reinforcements are now putting the back line of the Tau and the Eldar under a huge amount of pressure. One drop pod has come down here. They are looking to eliminate Fire Warriors and Hammerheads. We have run out of tactical doctrines, but the Devastator doctrine is in effect. The Terminators have also been guided down by the Locator Beacon, and they are going to burn out another strike team of Fire Warriors. Meanwhile, the 1st Company Captain and his Honour Guard, with the Chapter banner waving high, are moving to take on the XV-109, particularly the Chapter Champion, wielding his Thunderhammer. While their transport, the Land Raider Redeemer, has spun around to wash its ferocious flamestorm cannons over Jane Czar and her retinue. Looks like the Imperial ground forces are beginning to smash their way through the alien line. But with the Tau and Eldar so far ahead in terms of objective points, it's going to be hard for them to claw it back. Let's see what they do in their 3rd psychic phase. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight psychic phase, turn 3, and the Eldar were unable to deny this strike squad, giving themselves hammer hand, which could be very, very problematic for this Wave Serpent. But they were able to put a huge amount of psychic power into denying the Gate of Infinity summoned by the Grey Knight's Librarian, so he is staying where he is. The last thing the Eldar need is that squad right in the heart of their defensive lines. Moving in to Raven Guard and Grey Knights shooting phase, turn 3. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight shooting phase, turn 3, and the Thunderhawk raked one Barracuda with its many twin-linked heavy bolters and sent it crashing to earth. But the newly arrived Storm Raven only managed one glance on this wildly jinking Barracuda. But the major air threat of the Tau has been shot down, although it did take the fire of both the Raven Guard and the Grey Knight Storm Ravens. The Tiger Shark has crashed and burned. The newly alive Land Raider attempted to do some damage to the Riptide, but its las cannon shot bounced off of the power field surrounding the Tau battlesuit. This assault squad managed to take out the wounded XV-8 crisis suit with a crack grenade. The Raven Guard Devastator's fire was very effective and took down 2 of Commander Farsight's bodyguards. It's just him and 1 bodyguard left. But the broadside stood up very well to the hail of bolter fire and crack grenades launched at them by all of these tactical marines. They lost only a single wound. In the centre, the Grey Knight Terminator managed to gun down the last Scorpion with his silencer, and where the Eldar are attempting to hold back the Grey Knight and Raven Guard assault, the Grey Knights washed their incinerator over the last Pathfinder, killing him and taking out 1 of the Fire Dragons, and the Master of Sanctity, the Chapter Master and the 2 Vanguard veterans with lightning claws all threw crack grenades into the squad of Guardians, managed to take out 2 of them, and the other squad of Vanguard veterans with lightning claws also took out a Dire Avenger with a crack grenade. Very effective grenade use from the Ravens this turn. Clustered around the Seer Council and this objective, all of the Fire Warriors have been gunned down by fire from the tactical squads and the Terminator's heavy flamer. Unfortunately, this tactical combat squad failed to do any damage to the Hammerhead with their melter gun. The sharpshooting Sternguard veterans from the ruined building managed to knock a wound off the XV-109 with their Dragonfire bolts, but the one Vindicator that could fire missed with his Demolisher cannon, but he did manage to take out a single Fire Warrior. And the Land Raider washed its Flamestorm cannons over the Banshees, taking out 3 of them, but could not get past the ferocious armour of the Phoenix Lord Janzar. So, quite a good shooting phase from the Grey Knights and the Ravens. They only managed to take out 2 flyers in the end, disappointingly, but that's still a point for Scour the Skies. But this next phase is the crucial one. Grey Knights and Raven Guard assault phase, turn 3. End of Grey Knight and Raven Guard assault phase, turn 3, and started disappointingly with the hammer-handed strike squad failing to charge the Wave Serpent. But better news from the Raven Guard Vanguard veterans with power fists. They took no damage from the overwatch of the Fire Dragons or their attacks in close assault, and they smashed all of the Eldar Aspect Warriors to pieces. The Chapter Master, the Master of Sanctity, and 2 Vanguard veterans with lightning claws each crushed a Guardian with a thunderous hammer of wrath, and the Chapter Master then issued a challenge to the Warlock. Seeing the Eldar of his craft world dying, he felt he had no choice but to accept, and the Chapter Master easily butchered him, earning the Raven Guard a point for Witch Hunter. This assault squad managed to do 1 penetrating hit to the Wave Serpent and shake it, and the other combat assault squad managed to take out 1 of the Tetras with their crack grenades. On top of the bunker, the Wraithlord crushed the 1 remaining member of 1 Vanguard veteran squad, but the newly arrived squad placed a cluster of melter bombs on his legs and he fell. But this Vanguard veteran squad with lightning claws, they bit off a lot more than they could chew with the Dire Avengers. They lost 2 from the Eldar Aspect Warriors' excellent overwatch fire, and another 2 were cut down by the Exarch's Dire Sword. The remaining Vanguard veteran managed to hack apart 1 Dire Avenger, but he lost the combat. They remain locked in combat. And the Honour Guard struggled against the XV-109. All of their Relic Blades, despite doing many wounds, did nothing. But then the Chapter Champion stepped up with his Thunderhammer, and with 4 blows he reduced the Tau War Machine to scrap. They have consolidated towards that objective. It looks very much like The ground forces now on this battlefield are certainly weighted in favour of the Imperium. But in terms of objectives, the Raven Guard and Grey Knights managed to get a point for Scour the Skies, and they also got a point for Witch Hunter thanks to the Chapter Master cutting down the Yandam Warlock. That's still only 2 points for the turn and brings the score at the end of the third game turn to 12 points to the Tau Eldar, still only 6 to the Raven Guard and Grey Knights. It looks like even though they are beginning to achieve dominance on the table, they are going to struggle badly to catch the aliens' victory point score. Let's see what the Tau and the Eldar do in their fourth turn. Start of Tau and Eldar, turn 4, and they still have domination as one of their objectives, but with the newly arrived Raven Guard Land Raider full of Vanguard veterans moving up to support the Justicar, it is hard to see how the Tau and Eldar can secure objective 4. They have ways to secure every other objective, but looks like they're going to be denied domination once again. However, they have had a fortunate draw for their other 2 objectives. They have drawn secure objective 1 twice, and as they have been for the whole game, they are holding that one very, very strongly. We have the last Tau and Eldar unit arriving this turn. It's the Shining Spears. Let's see if they can make a difference in Tau and Eldar movement phase, turn 4. End of Tau and Eldar movement phase, turn 4, and with the arrival of the Land Raider, the Tau have realised that they do not have much chance of taking this objective, so they are satisfied with the guaranteed points they're going to get from objective 1. They are concentrating on target elimination. The Jinked Barracuda has left combat airspace, allowing his wingman to perform an attack run on the Raven Guard flyers, while the Riptide has backed off. He does not want to take on a squad of Vanguard in close assault. He is going to give some long range fire with his ion accelerator. And this XV-25 stealth suit is still holding this objective. He is going to fire his burst cannon at the rapidly approaching assault marines. The wave of Remora drones is sweeping towards the centre of the battlefield. Farsight has decided that all of these tactical marines need to be cleared away, so he has split from his bodyguard so they can fire and assault different targets, and along with the Remoras and the broadsides, they are hoping to clear the Ravens away from these central landing pads. The Tau and Eldar presence in the centre is getting very thin, but their battle line remains formidable. The newly arrived Shining Spears have zipped past 2 hammerheads of the Interdiction Cadre, who have been ordered by Commander Eli to pull back and let the Eldar see if they can drive back the humans. And the Seer Council has called upon the entire Dire Avenger Shrine. They have all moved up and they are looking to unload a hail of shurikens into the 1st Company Captain and the Honour Guard. Will it be enough to drive them back? Well, Jane Czar is also rapidly approaching from the rear of the building. Maybe she can finish them off. The Tau are looking to secure their position by pulling back and forming a new firing line. It's still very, very formidable, especially with the Tau and Supremacy suit still standing here. Commander Eli and the Riptide are going to join with the Dire Avenger Shrine to see if they can wipe out the Captain and the Honour Guard. And the 2 XV-107 suits have been ordered to drop their cluster munitions onto the remaining 2 Vindicators. The Tau are still very concerned about those deadly weapons. The Tetras have peeled round, they have escaped from the Raven Guard assault marines, and they are going to add their Markolites onto the Honour Guard. There is also a squad of marker drones and some Pathfinders, so the Honour Guard are looking very, very vulnerable at the current time. But the Tau Eldar line is still under considerable pressure. Let's see what happens in the Tau and Eldar's fourth psychic phase. End of Tau and Eldar psychic phase turn 4, and the power of the Seer Council seems to be dominant still. The Brother Librarian of the Grey Knights could not stop them putting guide and perfect timing on the nearest squad of Dire Avengers preparing for their blade storm, nor could he stop the Seer Council once again summoning fortune on themselves. This could be a very, very devastating shooting phase. Tau and Eldar, turn 4. End of Tau and Eldar shooting phase turn 4, and a disappointing performance down this end of the battlefield from the Tau and Eldar forces. The Barracuda opened fire on the Storm Raven, but despite hitting with both its ion cannon and its twin-link missile pod, all of its shots bounced off the frontal armour of the Raven Guard transport. And even more disappointing, the XV-104 Riptide, determined to slay the last Grey Knight Justicar, opened fire with his ion accelerator and his fusion blaster, but once again the charmed Justicar survives. In the centre, the Remoras and the Broadsides and Farsight and his now independent Crisis Suit, they have thinned out the Raven Guard Tactical Marines, but there are still a few left. Farsight is preparing a charge down at the last remaining member of the squad behind these barricades. The Eldar Grav tanks all focused their firepower onto the Grey Knights Terminators and managed to wipe them out with a very efficient volley. The Broadside fired at the Assault Marines without effect, and the Shining Spears, as they came zooming on, took out 3 Tactical Marines with their laser lances. The Hammerheads fired some sub-munitions onto this other squad and disappointingly only managed to take out 2 of them, but the Supremacy Suit, with a very, very brave shot, managed to land his D blast and take out 1 Raven Guard drop pod, all of the Terminators and a member of the tactical squad, and finish off the tactical squad with his tri-axis ion cannon. That really has blown a big gap in the Raven Guard attack down this end of the line. And even worse news for the Ravens, the Blade Storm coming from the Dire Avenger Shrine, combined with some fire from some Fire Warriors, and Commander Rely and another Riptide, has slain the 1st Company Captain, Chaplain and all of the Honour Guard. They were all wiped out in a hail of fire. And to end, quite an effective volley down this end of the table. The 2 XV-107s opened up on the last 2 Vindicators in the Lion Breaker Squadron and took them both out. So the Tau and Eldar remain deadly with every counter punch, and the Raven Guard forces are now looking a little bit thin down this end. We have some assaults going into Tau and Eldar assault phase turn 4. End of Tau and Eldar assault phase turn 4, and the Shining Spears realising how close they are to the Raven Guard Chapter Master, and some of his Vanguard veterans have moved over these Tactical Marines in an attempt to put some distance between themselves and danger. The Wave Serpent that failed to move away from the Raven Guard Assault Squad has lost another hull point to their crack grenades and is now immobilised. Looks like it is the end for that Eldar Grav tank. And Commander Farsight leapt onto the last remaining Tactical Marine, easily cutting him down, but he only consolidated 1 inch as he left himself a little bit close to the Brother Librarian and the Paladins. We'll see. Meanwhile, his XV-8 Crisis Suit failed to make the necessary distance to assault this last tactical marine, so objective 2 remains in the hands of the Raven Guard because he has objective secured. This turn, the Tau and the Eldar decided early on that they could not achieve domination, so they will have to content themselves with scoring objective 1 twice, bringing the score at the end of this turn to 14 points to the Tau and the Eldar, and still only 6 to the Raven Guard and Grey Knights going into their 4th turn. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knights movement phase turn 4, and following a very disappointing draw of objectives yet again at the start of their turn, they are nevertheless moving to achieve them. They drew secure objective 1, which still has the Seer Council sitting on it. They also drew secure objective 6, which is right down the other end and is held by a stealth suit, and they drew Big Game Hunter, and that at least fits in with their plans. The Imperial Air Power has started a long strafing run all the way down the battlefield. The 3 Storm Ravens are searching for targets as they do a flyover of the combats raging below them on the ground. The small Eldar flyers remaining are cast into shadow as the mighty Thunderhawk gunship passes over the top of them. He is looking for the best target for his turbo laser. With the Vanguard veterans in their Land Raider sat on that objective now, the Grey Knight Justicar has decided that he can teleport to help the 2 surviving Raven Guard assault marines secure objective 6 by killing that stealth suit. Although they do not actually have to kill him because they have objective secured and he does not. But they're going to try anyway. The remaining few tactical marines are continuing their vicious firefight against the broadsides. Maybe the Thunderhawk can help them out, and the Devastators still in their building certainly will. The Raven Guard scouts have finally arrived. I'm not sure what they've been up to, but they are there and they're going to provide some long range fire with their sniper rifles. And it looks like Farsight has overextended himself because he has now found himself surrounded by the Grey Knight Paladins and the Librarian, another member of a strike squad and another Terminator. Could this be the end for the famed commander? The Ravens and the Grey Knights are both committed this turn to killing as many of the Eldar and Tau vehicles as possible. They'll get a point for Big Game Hunter, but it's only going to be 1. This strike squad are moving up to try and take out the Wave Serpent. They failed to charge in their previous turn, and the squad with Power Fists are focusing on the Falcon. The survivors of the 2 tactical squads that came down in their drop pod are moving to take out this Falcon with their crack grenades, and the Chapter Master, Master of Sanctity, and the 2 remaining Vanguard veterans have joined together as a squad, and they are looking to take out the first of the Tau Hammerheads. The remaining Vanguard veteran squad with melter bombs are looking to take out another of the Hammerheads, so Big Game Hunter should be easily secured, and even more so as this Raven Guard assault squad looks to further knock out the Tetras. The last remaining Land Raider with another squad of Vanguard veterans inside has appeared and will be adding fire with its las cannons to stern guard of held position to give fire where they can. But the hope of the Ravens down this end lies in flamestorm cannons and heavy flamers. The land speeders have arrived and combined with the Land Raider Redeemer smashing its way through this building. The Dire Avenger Shrine may be made to pay for their slaughter of the first company captain and his honour guard. So the Ravens should get Big Game Hunter and secure objective 6, but it still looks very unlikely that they will be able to achieve secure objective 1 with the Seer Council still standing on it. Still, this could be another very effective turn from the Ravens and Grey Knights. Let's see what they can do in their 4th Psychic phase. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight Psychic phase turn 4, and the Eldar Seer Council are still making life very difficult for the Grey Knights. They managed to stop this strike squad getting hammer-hand, and they also managed to stop the Paladins getting force off on their Nemesis Falchions. But through lack of dice, they failed to stop both the Terminator and the last remaining member of the strike squad getting force off. So if either of them make it into combat with Farsight, it could be the end for him. Still, a relatively quick phase going into Raven Guard and Grey Knights shooting phase turn 4. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight shooting phase turn 4, and the Dire Avenger Shrine was indeed made to pay for the death of the first company captain. 2 of their 3 Dire Avenger squads were completely wiped out by the Flame Storm Cannon and Assault Cannon from the Land Raider, and the 3 Heavy Flamers from the newly arrived Land Speeders, and the last few Tau Fire Warriors clustered behind these. Ruins were also caught and wiped out. The newly arrived Land Raider and the Stern Guard took some long range shots at the Shining Spears, managed to take out 2 of them, but the main event down this end was a long range shot from the turbo laser on top of the Thunderhawk gunship. It's fired from a huge distance and taken out both Devilfish and 2 more Warlocks from the Seer Council. There are only 2 Farseers and 1 Warlock left, and that has blown a big hole in the Tau Eldar defensive line. Some of these Marine squads and veterans have thrown a few crack grenades, but with no effect on the Eldar vehicles or the Tetras. They are preparing to assault. The last XV-88 broadside that was in the shadow of this bunker was taken out by the strafing Storm Ravens. Farsight was hit by a hail of bolt fire, and he has been wounded twice. He only has 1 wound left, and not content with its long range shot all the way down the table at the Seer Council, the Thunderhawk strafed the broadsides on the central landing pad with its array of twin-linked heavy bolters and managed to take 1 down. These tactical marines have not fired their bolt guns. They are preparing to assault the last broadside, if anything, just to avoid its huge firepower. Commander Farsight's last XV-8 crisis suit was taken out by fire from the Raven Guard Devastators, and the Land Raider, holding Objective 4, managed to stun the 1 remaining Tau Barracuda that is still on the board, so that won't be much of a threat next turn. And finally, the 2 Assault Marines managed to shoot down the last stealth suit with their bolt pistols, giving them secure control of Objective 6. So another good turn of firing for Thunderhawk has made up for previous poor performances, as its turbo laser did an excellent shot a long way across the battlefield. But the main event this turn will be the assault phase. We could see a lot of Tau and Eldar vehicles taken out. Let's see Raven Guard and Grey Knights turn 4 assault phase. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knights assault phase turn 4, and where there was a line of Tau and Eldar armour, there is now a drifting bank of smoke. The Vanguard veterans with melter bombs easily exploded the hammerhead in front of the Seer Council, and the Chapter Master, remaining Vanguard and the Marshal Sanctity smashed their way through a second hammerhead. These 2 tactical squads only managed to do 1 whole point to the Falcon and to stun it, but these Vanguard easily wrecked the other Falcon, while the Grey Knight strike squad tore the Wave Serpent to pieces. This Raven Guard assault squad had a very easy time knocking down the last hull point on this immobilised Wave Serpent, and the other assault squad took out another Tetra. the other assault. Only the Paladins and the Brother Librarian made it into Farsight, and the redoubtable Tau commander refused to go down without issuing a challenge. The leader of the Paladins accepted, and Farsight managed to do him a wound before the rest of the Paladins waded in with their falchions. Even without force, they tore the battlesuit to pieces and slew Farsight. And Tactical Marines managed to charge in to the last remaining broadside. They did no damage, and the broadside managed to swat down a Tactical Marine, but the last two remain locked in combat with him, and they have objective secured, so objective 2 remains in the hands of the Raven Guard. Victory points at the end of this turn. The Ravens managed to secure objective 6 for a point, and they also managed a point for Big Game Hunter. It is a real shame for them that the maximum you can get by destroying normal vehicles is 1, because, as it happens this turn, the Raven Guard and Grey Knights managed to take out 8. Still, never mind. The score at the end of Raven Guard and Grey Knight turn 4 is 14 points to the Tau and Eldar and 8 to the Raven Guard and Grey Knights, going into Tau and Eldar turn 5. Start of Tau and Eldar turn 5, and having finally given up on their attempt to achieve domination, they have drawn 3 new objectives, which are psychological warfare, never the easiest against Space Marines of any chapter. They've drawn no prisoners, which should suit their purposes. They are desperately trying to blast back the tide of black and silver power armour, and unfortunately for them, they have also drawn secure objective 4, which the Land Raider with the Vanguard veterans are still sitting on. Still, the other 2 objectives give them a chance to rack up some points this turn. Let's see, going into their 5th movement phase. End of Tau and Eldar movement phase, turn 5, and the Tau are being pushed back into this corner of the battlefield. Commander Rely has ordered his battle suits to form a new firing line around the Supremacy suit, along with his remaining Fire Warriors and Hammerhead. Meanwhile, the Seer Council has desperately called the last squad of Dire Avengers forwards to protect them from the rapidly approaching Vanguard veterans. The Tau's concern are the land speeders, but with all these marker lights and battle suits, the light skimmers could be in a bit of trouble. Jane Czar's leading a few remaining Banshees through to take out the last squad of Stern Guard, and as the Tetras once again zip away from the Raven Guard Assault Marines, the Shining Spears move in to take them out. The Dire Avengers are still holding the centre of the original alien battle line, and they have got plenty of targets, particularly these 2 small tactical squads. The Eldar are desperately trying to achieve as many points as possible for no prisoners. The Fire Dragons have disembarked from the back of their stunned Falcon, and they are going to try and wreak some revenge on the Master of Sanctity and the Chapter Master of the Raven Guard. They may well do it with their fusion guns. Meanwhile, the pilots of the Storm Ravens are very surprised to see the tiny Tau drones come zipping between their wings. They are looking to pick on vulnerable targets once again to try and wipe out as many Space Marine squads as possible. But there are not many Tau left down this end of the table now. The broadside remains locked in combat with the Tactical Marines. He does not have many options, but the arrival of the Barracuda that left combat airspace last turn gives the Tau a chance to take out the 2 Raven Guard Assault Marines on objective 6, while the Riptide continues his quest to slay the Grey Knight Justicar with a Demon Hammer, who is sheltering in these ruins. That will be another 2 squads for no prisoners. So it could be a maximum score for that for the Tau and Eldar this turn. they still have a frightening amount of firepower to put out. But first, we go into their 5th psychic phase. End of Tau and Eldar psychic phase, turn 5, and although they have lost a lot of warlocks, the Eldar still have 2 Farseers and 1 warlock left. They managed to get fortune off on themselves once again. They also managed to get perfect timing on this squad of Dire Avengers, but their attempt to cast Guide on the same squad was denied. Will it be enough to wipe out the Vanguard? Let's see in Tau and Eldar shooting phase, turn 5. End of Tau and Eldar shooting phase, turn 5, and as we have become accustomed to, it has been devastating. Once they had been lit up with 4 marker lights, the Raven Guard land speeders stood no chance against the cluster munitions from the 107s and were blown to pieces. The Riptide fired without effect at the Land Raider Redeemer, but Commander Eli managed to do 2 hull points with his experimental haywire ammunition. The Dire Avengers combined their fire with the last remaining Tau strike team to gun down all of the Vanguard veterans approaching the Seer Council. The Dire Avengers shot down a squad of 3 tactical marines. There are still 2 left from a different squad, but the Fire Dragons took down the remaining Vanguard veterans with lightning claws, and the Master of Sanctity sacrificed himself to save the Chapter Master. But the Chapter Master is still there. Shining Spears picked off a couple of Assault Marines with their laser lances. They are preparing to charge, and the Tau Knight Supremacy Suit landed his D weapon on this assault squad, and there are none remaining. The stealth drones focused all of their formidable firepower on the Grey Knight strike squad that had destroyed this Wave Serpent and wiped them out. And then there's very few Tau units in the centre, just the broadside locked in combat. The strafing Barracuda took out both Raven Guard Assault Marines that were on Objective 6, but yet again, as has been the case for the whole game, despite causing 3 wounds on the Grey Knight Justicar, with his Iron Accelerator and his Twin Link Fusions, the Grey Knight has made all his cover saves yet again. This 104 pilot must be getting pretty angry inside his battlesuit. So, no prisoners is no problem for the Tau and Eldar. They've already wiped out 7 units, and we've got a couple of assaults to go into Tau and Eldar Assault Phase, turn 5. End of Tau and Eldar Assault Phase, turn 5, and the Shining Spears easily rode down the last 3 Raven Guard Assault Marines, wiping them out, and Jane Czar cut her way through the Stern Guard veterans with contemptuous ease. Another couple of units destroyed, so no prisoners has been achieved, but unfortunately, despite wiping out 9, possibly more, Imperial units, they rolled a 1, so they only get 4 points for that. Still, it's a good objective to get at this stage in the game. They did, however, fail to achieve securing Objective 4, and they also failed to achieve psychological warfare, bringing the score at the end of Tau and Eldar, turn 5, to 18 points to the Tau and Eldar, and 8 to the Raven Guard and Grey Knights. Going into Raven Guard and Grey Knights, turn 5. Start of Raven Guard and Grey Knights, turn 5, and they have drawn secure Objective 5. It's getting more possible, but still not very likely. They've also had a lucky draw behind enemy lines, with this board edge being the Eldar and Tau board edge. They have easily got plenty of scoring units within 12 inches, and they have also drawn no prisoners. So we will be seeing another turn of carnage, no doubt. Let's see, going into Grey Knights and Raven Guard movement phase, turn 5. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knights movement phase, turn 5, and the Land Raider Redeemer continues to smash through this building, looking to wash its Flamestorm cannons over as many alien targets as it can. The other Land Raider has deployed its Vanguard veterans, and they are looking to take out the Shining spears. The Imperial air power is strafing its way up the table, and with no prisoners drawn, their supporting fire could be vital and devastating. The Chapter Master is leaping towards the Eldar command and the Dire Avengers. He is looking to mop up whoever is left with his relic blade. He is very keen to take the head of a Farseer back to the Raven Spire, and the remaining squad of Vanguard veterans with Power Fists are going to take out the Fire Dragons that have killed their Master of Sanctity. The Ravens are relying on these last two tactical marines to destroy the Falcon with their crack grenades, but really the order of the day down this end is to strafe and destroy as many targets as possible, and you'd hope with the Thunderhawk in support that should be easily achievable. Meanwhile, in the central landing pad complex, the Grey Knights are moving to support the last couple of Raven Guard tactical marines against this XV8 broadside, and they should be able to make short work of him with all of their force weapons. The Raven Guard scouts and devastators are ready to add their long range fire wherever necessary, and the Rhinos and the Land Raider still on objective 4. They are going to try and shoot the last Barracuda out of the air. The Raven should be able to achieve more than 6 units destroyed, but we shall see. First we have Raven Guards and Grey Knights, turn 5, Psychic Phase. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knights, Psychic Phase, turn 5, and poor rolling from the Grey Knights Brother Librarian combined with excellent denying by the Eldar Seer Council has meant that the only power that the Grey Knights have managed to get off is Hammer Hand on the Paladins. Their attempt at force was denied, as were the attempts at force on the 2 other remaining single Grey Knights. Still, their attack should be enough to take out the broadside in the assault phase, but first we should have a very good Raven Guard and Grey Knight shooting phase in their turn 5. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knights shooting phase, turn 5, and the Thunderhawk has struck again with its turbo laser, landing its destroyer shot right on top of the Seer Council, taking out all but one Farseer. It also managed to take out a Die Avenger, but the last remaining Farseer was taken down by the Twin Link las cannons fired by this Raven Guard Storm Raven. That left the Land Raider Redeemer free to wash its Flamestorm cannons over the marker drones and wipe them out completely. That's 2 units. The Vanguard veterans managed to take down one Shining Spear with their plasma pistols, but in an amazing display of marksmanship, all 3 remaining Shining Spears were sniped out of the air by the Raven Guard scouts, and that is another unit. The Dire Avengers that were holding this open ground, they were all gunned down by the Thunderhawks, twin-linked heavy bolters, and the Grey Knights Storm Raven. That's 4 units, but disappointingly, all the way down the far end of the battlefield, the Barracuda jinked and dodged its way through all of the fire directed at it by the Raven Guard Devastators, the Land Raider, and some of the Grey Knights and the Rhinos. So the Raven Guard, at the end of their shooting phase, have only managed to destroy 4 enemy units. They need 2 more for maximum points, and no prisoners. Can they do it in the assault phase? Let's see. Raven Guard and Grey Knight, assault phase, turn 5. End of Raven Guard and Grey Knight, assault phase, turn 5, and the Chapter Master came jetpacking his way through the bank of smoke. He crushed one Dire Avenger with his Hammer of Wrath, took no damage, and slaughtered the 3 remaining with his relic blade. He stands defiant in the face of the Tau battlesuits, and the Imperial forces have finally got to objective 1. This squad of Vanguard veterans took no damage from the Overwatch of the Fire Dragons and easily smashed them to pieces with their power fists, and the last two remaining tactical marines managed to knock down the Falcon with a crack grenade. Meanwhile, far up the battlefield in the centre, the sheer volume of attacks from the Paladins dragged down the XV-88 broadside suit. So the Ravens have managed to destroy another 4 units in the assault phase, giving them maximum points for no prisoners. They've also managed to achieve hold the line with 3 units. And as the game has now just ended at the end of turn 5, we will calculate victory points and be back to see who has won this epic struggle. During their 5th turn, the Raven Guard and Grey Knights managed to get 5 points from no prisoners and another 2 from behind enemy lines. And as the game has ended, both sides have also scored line breaker. Neither side managed to slay the other's warlord. Both the Raven Guard Chapter Master and Commander Rely are still alive, and in fact facing off against one another still. The Tau and the Eldar managed to get first blood, but the final score of victory points is 19 points to the Tau and Eldar and only 16 to the Raven Guard and Grey Knights. It is a victory for the forces of the Tau Empire and the forces of Craftworld Eandon, although it looks like, from what's left on the table, including the Thunderhawk and many dangerous Imperial units, that the Imperium have at least managed to seize control of the battlefield. This has been a long and epic struggle. We are pleased with the result. The Raven Guard and the Grey Knights took a big risk with their deployment. They hardly deployed any of their forces, meaning that the Tau and the Eldar could build up an early points lead when the reinforcements started to pour in from the flanks and from deep strike. The forces of the Imperium seemed to put the Tau and the Eldar on the back foot, but the aliens were disciplined. They maintained their composure and their calm, and they have held on for an excellent victory points victory. This has been a great game, and we like to do more Apocalypse games, as many as we can in fact. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and we will keep producing as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya!